if you want this thing to scale, like you can't be nickel and diming your directors on 15 PTO days a month or a year. Like they've got to feel like they're truly having full ownership over the success of this place. Treat them like a grown up and let them run this like their own thing.
For every 5, if there's one that, no matter what we do systems wise, it just can't get off the ground. It's probably something that's going to happen, and probably something that we have to face, but also have the plan in place to what do we do in that situation. As Devin said, what is the trigger to shut that thing down before, it becomes even more of a headache?
The product, for the most part, is the least difficult thing to do. It is the least important thing. People have no idea what they're getting versus anywhere else, and the competition is not very hard to beat.
Check, check, check.
Tip of the tongue.
Check, check, check.
Yes.
Teeth and lips.
Yes.
Who's the third? Who's 3?
Is that me?
Yeah, there we go.
3.
Okay, we're in there.
4 good?
Yeah.
4 is
All right.
good.
Yeah.
4 is good.
Hello and welcome to Gym World Worldwide. This is our second live episode, and I think the first episode ever from within a gym. Joined with me today is my partner, Mateo Lopez, and 2 real-life gym owners. It's very weird not doing this over Zoom. We have Jeff Shoemaker. You might remember him from his previous episode of Gym World Worldwide, and we have his partner today, Devin Gage, as well. And the reason we are talking to you today is because you bought a gym within walking distance of Mateo and I's house.
Right.
It just happens to be serendipitous because I said I wanted to do more live interviews in a gym, but I don't like traveling, so I manifested this. So this was, the world brought you to me. I know you're a big fan of The Secret, Jeff.
Absolutely.
And so I'm glad this is here. How are you guys feeling? You're in the thick of it right now.
I feel good. I mean, anxious.
Yeah, it's a little, we're just taking some licks from the current community and lots of questions about, what the future may hold. But overall, it's another day in paradise.
And for those of you that don't know, just give a quick rundown on the existing business, because this is gym number 7 for you guys, right?
Yeah, this is 7. We have 5 other Engage personal training locations, and then Devin started Gage strength training 11 years ago.
Mothership.
So we have that location is like 500 members, large group training, small group training, athletes. And then we started Engage personal training in 2022 with just adult small group, 120 member kind of concept. And we've done, this is number 6 of those in the last 18 months.
6 and 18 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when we talked, you were on number 4, right?
We were opening 5. We were opening 4 and 5.
You were doing the Cali one.
California was,
and we were
that
saying
was your first out of
that's
state.
a wild idea.
Yes. Yes. Well, I slid that in at the end where I was like, oh, we have this one in California. And
Like, we have a van and we don't know what to do with it. So we're going to ship it across the country.
Yeah.
So we launched 2 in the fall, Mission Viejo, California, and Ardmore, Pennsylvania, which is right outside Philly. So those are open and operating. And then this is 7 now.
And how are they doing?
Good. I mean, definitely.
The launch in California was really like California. I didn't want to believe the rumors about how slow the government operates, how long it takes to like get permits. It really is that bad. Like, it is really, it took like 3 months to get an occupancy permit. So it really kind of screwed with the launch. We had a lot of people that signed up initially that never converted. So the Cali was definitely slower, but we're excited to go forward with it. We really want to scale to 100 locations. And Cali was like, you know what? We might as well try it in the furthest, most inconvenient place that we can find while we have the least going on. And if it works, then now it kind of opens up a lot more real estate. So,
and it hasn't gone under yet. So
that's
good.
6 months in.
Yeah. 6 months in. So Devin said our delay, we were supposed to open in September. We opened in November. So that was like the huge roadblock that we had. And we're still kind of like overcoming that, getting through it, but it's growing, and Ardmore is doing great as well. So,
and has that changed how you guys are going to approach launches moving forward? I think we talked outside of this how you guys might be changing up how you structure the offers for new gyms.
The thing we learned there was making sure we truly go all in on understanding every individual state and county's processes for opening, because Pennsylvania was seamless. It was very easy. California, we went through the same process we normally do, and then there was one thing after another that you didn't do this, and you can't get a sign without this, and you can't get a permit for this before this, and that cost us a lot of time. So moving forward, the first thing we have to do is figure out what the permitting processes are in terms of the build out. And then on the training side of things with the pre-sale, what we're doing now is founding memberships for life. We're talking about maybe condensing the pre-sale a couple weeks, providing more in-person training leading up to the actual opening so that we're doing less of like the membership sales over the phone. You can experience it first and make the decision after a trial.
Yeah, I'll say the other changes that we had experienced and we're rolling with. So we've changed the initial pre-sale offer several times. So the first couple gyms, it was like 30% for 3 months. Then it was 20% for life in another gym. Cali, we were like, let's do 30% for 3 months. Totally bombed. We found that in California, there were so many options. This is at least my theory. There were so many options. The fact that the gym wasn't open, that we were selling like 30% for 3 months or 30% off for life pre-sale. And they're like, well, what if I don't like it? That means absolutely nothing if I try the gym and I hate it. Yeah. So we really went all in on like 50% off your first month and then a long-term discount. So it felt more like a trial versus a longer-term commitment. So a lot of different nuances. We also found in California, people seem to be like out and about. They wanted to see the gym. So the phone sales in the very beginning really weren't very effective. Once we opened, people would just pop in. They're like, okay, cool, sign me up. So
you having that physical space. Was that grocery anchored? I know that's typically what you guys look for.
Typically we do. That one's not.
Liquor store anchored.
Yeah, liquor store anchored.
Even better. Yeah. So for people who are unfamiliar, maybe didn't listen to Jeff's first episode, you guys run like a small group play that a lot of people are running now. You're looking 120 to about 150 members is what you look for each of the locations. Price points in the neighborhood of 75 a weekish.
Yes. Yeah. So 75 to 95 a week.
Okay. So between $300 and $400 a month, you want kind of a $50,000 top line and 40% margins, right? That's the whole shebang.
Yeah. The way we structure our compensation plan, 40% is not, realistic until it's a much more mature business. But in the short term, it's like 40,000, 30% margins. As it matures, we can offer price increases, additional services. But, I think the goal to hit is that 40,000, 30% margin.
So that's what you're dead set on that. When you open one of these locations, is how quickly can we get to that point? And that's when you'd consider it like a mature spot.
Yeah. So for us, we're seeing that being realistic at a year.
A year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then typically how long from when you open the door to when you're like breaking even?
Could be 1 month.
Yeah, 1-2 months.
That quick?
Yeah.
I mean, 6, because you guys didn't take on any outside money, right? It's
Correct.
just you guys cash flowing it all with previous
with the
locations.
gyms,
Yeah.
Are you going to take some money to get to 100? We tried to give you some. We're going to get into it. We tried to get in the door. They haven't accepted the wire yet. So
So we get a line of credit for when we do these launches. Luckily, we've had to tap very little of that. But really, now that we've got 6 locations that are 2 of them are a few months out from like really churning some cash back, that really just opens up the flywheel to be able to scale really quickly. I mean, we have a few more gyms that once they kind of mature a little bit, we'll be able to launch 2 to 3 gyms at a time pretty seamlessly. So we'll see what happens in the future, but the goal is to not take on, funding.
yeah.
Really quick, I'm curious. You mentioned when you get when they start to mature these locations, you add additional services. What are the other things you guys do besides the small group personal training?
So the small group training is like the backbone that has to be, really solid, really consistent, and just stabilized. A couple of our facilities have done team training, like athlete performance. And that's part of our kind of USP as a company with Engage. We call it Engage Worldwide, is like the management company.
That's a cool idea. Where'd you get that?
Cool name.
One of our unique selling propositions to trainers that want to work with us is the ability to bring your own style and authenticity. Like we have a couple of facility leaders that we're doing athlete performance. That's where their heart is. There's not a really good living in that. So giving them the opportunity to like get the gym stable. Hey, then you can train athletes if you want. And we do kind of like a revenue share with that.
Okay. So basically some entrepreneurialism where they're going to be able to run their own thing and take a share of it and have like a lot more upside in whatever that supplemental program is.
Yes.
But it's not like nutrition add-ons or like one-on-one add-ons or.
No, I mean, that's an opportunity if they want, kind of once the gym is full, we kind of coach them on whatever programs they want to run, we teach them how to structure it. We teach them how to market it. And really, if it's nutrition, supplements, challenges, athletes, we kind of like coach them through it as we come.
So part of the reason why we're doing this here today is this is your first acquisition, right? So we are standing in acquisition number one. We talk to gym owners all the time that want to acquire struggling gyms, turnarounds, buying profitable gyms with varying degrees of success. We have experience doing this also with varying degrees of success. So I thought it'd be fun to kind of talk through the deal, how you guys are thinking about it, and we'll see how you do. We'll follow up in a year and see what this looks like. So tell me a little bit about this facility that we're standing in and how you the opportunity came across your desk, because that's the hardest part, right? Is sourcing these deals. So tell me about it.
Yeah, I'll let Devin talk about this. Everything happened very fast. So this whole process started 6 weeks ago.
Pretty much.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, 6
So
weeks.
preface this, like I would definitely not pursue anything with this speed, with this level of complexity, unless, we basically had the cash coming in to float it. So I opened my first gym in 2012. I opened with I was in a mastermind group. I had met a guy named Joe from Connecticut that had a series of gyms. He moved out here 2018, opened this gym. He was always really big into the 30-minute HIIT style model. He opened this as like, this is what I'm going to scale with. Long story short, 2 years in, he ended up moving back to Connecticut, sold this to a client of his that was not really equipped to run a business. So while when he was operating, it did okay. I think it had like probably 200 members, did about $30,000 a month. He sold it to two clients that have full-time jobs, and they kind of just let it slowly deteriorate over 2 years. He called me just completely out of the blue. We had stayed in touch a little bit. He called me and he's like, hey, listen, I'm not involved anymore, but they were looking for either a partner or to close down or sell the gym. Just wanted to throw it your way. I know you're scaling and doing this thing. I talked to them the next day. The finances were not good. My accountant, we shared an accountant. And
wait, with the gym owner, you just happened to use the same account?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
How? Is this a gym-specific person? Or
Yeah,
is
he's Mike Waldron. I don't know if you know. He runs with like the Vince Gabriel,
Okay.
crew.
What's his firm called?
Carmel Valley Financial Services.
Okay.
He works a lot of F45, Burns.
Got it.
Like in all the small group gyms.
He's your
Alloys.
guy, so you should just hang out with him. That's where if you want to source more deals, and email him.
and
He knows who's sucking wind.
Yeah,
And he, without voiding, like we were all pretty transparent about the numbers. Like they gave him permission, and he's like, "Listen, it doesn't make money. It's purely just an asset sale." So I flew out here. I was like, "Listen, the footprint is pretty much what we opened. The equipment, for the most part, is what we use. The color scheme, the color of the walls, is our colors, for the most part. They just need somebody that can market, do sales, and show up and keep the gym running." So I came back, talked to Jeff. We made an offer based on like they were just ready to get out. They were just like, we need to pay off the debt, and we're out. And we had the cash, and we're like, you know what? We want to keep scaling. So this will be another feather in the cap of entrepreneurship. So really, it just came down to like the personal capacity and bandwidth that Jeff and I had. So that's where I feel like you can kind of pick up.
Yeah, I mean, you came down, I came down the following week just to see what they're doing, how much of a change we'd have to make, facility, structure, pricing, everything. I did a deep dive into what are their memberships, how long do people come, how long have they been to the gym, what class times do they come, what's the average capacity of the gym, and what the gym had done before. And Devin said at some point this gym was making, a profit. So 2 years, they were doing $30,000 a month. They probably had the 200 members on this, $100, $150 a month program. And we knew people that were associated with their marketing that said, listen, this place has a ton of opportunity. Someone needs to step in and just do it and run it. And it can't be two people that work full time, and it can't be one part-time trainer. Yeah. So I think, making it very simple on the build outside of things, on the equipment, on the, we're acquiring a gym with the email list of 4,000 people. So instead of starting from zero and trying to do joint ventures and throw ads that build an email list. We're stepping into an email list and 1,000 people that have already been members at some point in this gym. And I think with an offer that made sense to give people a chance to try the gym, we're banking on the fact that we can probably grow this faster than we would have a gym, gym number 7 started from scratch.
Yeah, we basically were buying the build out, the equipment, and the email list. Everything else was kind of like, we have no illusions about 50 clients staying on and increasing their pricing. Like, we're very, real about the fact that we're probably going to be starting with very few people and just running a big pre-sale just like normal.
You said it was like an asset sale. So can you give us like a ballpark of what you paid for the gym?
Yeah, I mean, it really was, when I talked to the current owners, again, they were just desperate to get out. They were completely burned out. They were overworked. They really wanted to just recoup the loan that was paid to the original owner to take it on. But really, at the end of the day, it came down to the equipment. So the flooring, the dumbbells, the bikes, the kettlebells, I basically made an offer that was what was enough to get them out, but was also, hey, if this totally flopped, I'd be able to sell this and pretty much recoup, what I paid.
And were there any other costs associated with doing the deal? I know you didn't take out any money, but lawyer fees or, anything else like that?
Yeah, I had a lawyer review everything, create an operating agreement, create an agreement of sale. So I'm still waiting on the bill, but probably just standard, a couple $1,000.
Take a few grand on that.
Yeah, like $5,000 all said and done with that. There's all the software fees, the marketing fees to do the pre-sale. We have a marketing company that we're still waiting. Again, all this happened so fast that we're literally still waiting for like authentication on the text messaging system. So we can't even run paid ads yet. So all of that will be the additional cost of the marketing.
And the facility leader. So recruiting, salary for the person that we're bringing on, and the recruitment process in trying to identify someone to run this facility. So we always open with, we call them facility leaders. It's basically a general manager that's going to come in, create the programming, do all the sales, in the initial launch of the facility.
So I wanted to ask about that. How did you find this person who's going to operate the space? And then is there anyone else that is going to help with the classes? Are you keeping it some of the original staff? Is that person in charge of finding a part-time coach to fill in the gaps? How's that all going to work out?
Yeah, so last time I was on, I dropped Jessie Stackhouse. So we used her again, Just Fitness Staffing, for identifying a facility leader. So she knows our model. She works with other gyms that do what we do. So we tapped her for, we need to find someone to run this facility. She recruited, a couple people that were actually already looking to move down to Jupiter anyway. So it was kind of just like a layup relocation. And then beyond that, we're talking, there's 2 trainers here right now that we're in talks to continue to have them in the same kind of part-time capacity that they're in. And then supplemental support, we have, a regional manager that oversees other locations that's going to help facilitate a lot of this too. So she'll be training the facility leader that's coming in. She'll come down here. We'll close for a week and basically do like a week of, on the job training that she'll run.
That.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they're thrilled. But yeah, just to go back, we sourced a ton of candidates. Our first thing was like, from a cultural standpoint, from current membership, they have 2 trainers that were very, very part-time. Their only experience was really here. So they don't have the same level of experience that we typically look for, which is like a real training cert, usually a bachelor's degree, maybe a CSCS. So we offered, a job, and really I think the guy was like, didn't want to deal with the drama and, the pushback from the current clients that he's kind of like grown up with. So we want to, be able to keep some semblance of the old structure, as long as they can kind of play by the new rules and operate with the level of quality. So our director is coming in fully trained on our system. They basically are kind of on like a performance improvement plan out of the gate about, can you operate the way we need you to? But there's training hours for them if they want it.
Extrapolating based off of what you're saying, so you bought this for the price of the equipment. I'm guessing somewhere in the neighborhood of the cost of a Honda Civic. Typically, when you open up a facility, you told us it's like 100 to 150 is typically the build cost. Is that about right?
Yeah. And then California was in the higher end, and if we can stay in that 100,000, then that's like a sweet spot.
Okay. And then how much do you budget to go from opening the door to break even? How much you anticipate to lose?
It's varied significantly. Like, we opened our third location, break even on day one. Our first location was break even on month 2. Second location broke even 6 months in. But we kind of budget a top line of like $25,000 over 6 months to kind of just lose.
Okay, so somewhere in the neighborhood of 125 to 175 is
Right.
what you're setting aside for a new unit.
Yeah.
All right, and so for this one, there's obviously the amount of money you save opening up because there's no waiting, like it's open.
Yep.
I can come take class tomorrow. Obviously, the downside of that is you're going to have to deal with a bunch of really angry members. And so for context, Mateo and I did a very similar, one of the best ones we did was gym where you guys are, Philadelphia, and similar situation. Guy had a full-time job, was making good money. The gym was breaking even. We walked in there and just everything we saw was wrong. Like, it was dirty. The coaching was bad. The pricing was wrong. Nobody answered the website. Like, the worse it is, the more excited. Like, we wanted bad, and it was really bad, and it ended up working out for us.
It was really bad, but break even, which I think is like the sweet spot, because
Right.
all you have to do is sprinkle a little bit of fairy dust, and then you're golden.
Yeah, because we saw it like, oh, these are very obvious ways we can improve this. The members will like it because they don't like a dirty space. They don't like a nasty coach who shows up 10 minutes late. They want somebody to respond to their customer service emails. And so we saw the opportunity, but like the downside is, regardless of whether you're improving something, people hate change, especially people who've been around for a while. The longer someone's been here, the longer they're used to doing things, the more pushback you're going to get. So maybe you save $100,000, but you're going to get $100,000 worth of headaches, is my guess. Maybe you can talk about the transition a little bit and what that's been like so far.
Yeah, we've been here for 3 days. Conversations have kind of gone.
Got my head ripped off times.
2 ways. One is I don't even want to entertain a conversation with at all. Like, cancel my membership. People asking us for refunds on a gym that we do not own yet and cannot provide those refunds. And then people that are just like, I'm not sure, but what else am I going to do? So maybe I'll try it. And we're trying to put together basically a team of the current members, that the longest standing members, the people that come the most often, people that have been here the longest, that spend the most money, and try to use them as like a network of people that can help advocate for us as much as possible.
Ambassadors.
Yeah.
In conjunction with the current owners that, part of this whole process was they're along with us, every step of the way in kind of rolling this messaging out and trying to make it as smooth as possible. So that's what we're trying to get from it. As I said, conversations have been received positively and negatively.
Yeah. I mean, it's like Jeff said, we're really trying to go into this community and think of it from like an emotional standpoint and psychology of change, where we want to paint a really compelling vision of like the things that are going to improve. The things that you love are some semblance of that will change. And the only alternative is that the gym closes in 3 months and everybody's out of a gym anyway. So we're trying to connect with the big spenders, the people that have been here long, and talking to the current owners, who's not the drama queens of the group, give them some sort of role or status of like, hey, you're going to be an ambassador. Everybody that you refer, we're going to give you points. I don't know. We're figuring out, you're going to give you this crazy referral bonus and opportunity to get discount supplements and apparel, and just really try to create a little core that's like leading from the inside out.
Okay. Got it. One of the things that I think you guys are going to have the most challenge with on the outside looking in is this was a large group facility. Like, it's structured, looking around, for like a 30-person class, a bunch of different circuits. You said the price point was like $100 a month or something like that?
Yeah, like $150.
Yeah. So you guys train 6 at a time, right?
We do 7.
7 at a time
now,
at $300 price point. So how are you going to triple the prices when these people are probably, if you said the gym's struggling, I'm guessing class size is probably 5 to 7 right now anyway. So you're paying $100 for, you're getting more attention probably isn't going to be a good sell here, because I'm sure the classes were pretty empty to begin with.
Yes. The average session size is like 5 to 7, exactly what you said. So, the first thing is, instead of doing 30 minutes, you're doing an hour session. So every session is an hour long. Looking around at this equipment, there's things that we can bring in: barbells, trap bars, functional trainers, sleds, that type of thing, that are going to be novel and going to be new and going to be checking a box in terms of strength training that these people just don't get here. Some of them want that. Some of them, that's the last thing they want. But if we can sprinkle in the perceived value add of the duration of the session and bring in a new style of training, new equipment, coaches that are a little bit more technical and hands-on, that aren't just running around, with the group session. So many members that we talk to, like they're they love the HIIT style, but we're talking to coaches and people don't want to do running, jumping, burpees, that type of thing. And that's like our 3 tenets of our training is we do not do any running. We don't do burpees. We do no jumping. So if we can, tap into those pain points of things that people are trying to avoid, and showcase the style of training and the tools that we use, to the people that matters to, it's going to come across. And to the people that it doesn't matter to, they're probably going to find a gym that does 30-minute workouts somewhere else in Jupiter.
And it's, I'm trained in motivational interviewing, and this is like a really good opportunity to flex some of these like communication skills where people are like, well, what are you doing differently? And we're like, well, what do you love about this place? And they're like, well, we love the intensity. We love the class times. I'm like, awesome. None of that's changing. Like, session times are going to be the same. Level of intensity is going to be the same. What do you not like? They're like, well, sometimes coaches don't show up. Sometimes like I don't get a response from the owners. I'm like, awesome. We're going to have somebody here all day, every day. Does that sound like a good thing? And it's just like, just asking questions, and they're kind of selling themselves on it without them really knowing. And again, very difficult to convince them that this new thing is going to be better. But I'm just trying to ask as many questions, like probing questions, and letting them like, yeah, I guess this place didn't work out very well. And I'm like, well, and downside is if we don't come in and do this, the gym's going to close in a couple months anyway. So
what I'm hearing you say is the intensity, but what I'm not hearing you say is the price.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. You're gonna love what we have in store for you.
Yeah.
How are you guys thinking about quality control? Because now this is another location that's thousands of miles away from where you guys live. So you have the one across the country, you have one down south now. How many visits are you planning to go on site, throughout the year, this first year that you're open? How are you going to manage quality control? What's the process there?
Yeah, on the visit side of things, typically, if we can do a quarterly visit or one visit every, or 3 visits a year, I think that's pretty fair. We have weekly meeting pulse with every facility leader, one-on-one with their regional manager, in conjunction with a full, all our facility leaders together on a call as well. So there's 2 hours of additional, coaching and training throughout the week. In terms of the quality control of the programming, it's not, the same workout company-wide every single day, but the structure of the workout is going to be the same. So part of our hiring process, part of the onboarding process is, really, really diving deep into the education of what we do and what we don't do. At the same time, giving the facility leaders freedom to program for their own locations. So, if someone has an Olympic weightlifting background and that's, something they want to incorporate that, we're going to give them, the flexibility to do that as long as it checks the boxes in majority of the other things we're looking for. So there is freedom, but the quality control comes from, the structure of how we operate things, from the facility layout to the equipment to the X's and O's of training, and then the touch points throughout the week from the regional manager to ensure that it's following suit with what we want every facility to look like.
Yeah, and I can add to that. So my first thing is I probably have the worst take on like quality fitness because I'm like the least qualified trainer in the world. I got certified like 16 years ago and never really
expired
once.
for 15 years.
Yeah, but the training that happens in here, the product, for the most part, is the least difficult thing to do. It is the least important thing. People have no idea what they're getting versus anywhere else. And the competition is not very hard to beat. Like, the competition is like the F45s, fit bodies. Like, if you can make somebody feel good in the gym, get their heart rate up, leave sweaty, and not be crippled or throw up or get hurt, that's pretty much all that matters. And the last thing on quality control, the scorecard tells the entire story. If retention is not where it needs to be, like it is on all the locations, if the conversion rate from trials isn't there, it's all just a product issue. And we can look at the communication, we can look at where people are falling through the cracks, but at the end of the day, it's a product issue. And we live and die by the scorecard. So if there's a few weeks where that number doesn't get missed, it's a red flag that we go in and like really try to work on. But, it's usually a pretty simple fix.
And here, I mean, we have you guys, so you can just come in, secret shop.
My rate for being a janitor is $500 an hour. So as long as you can add that into your legal bill.
Yeah.
You know, it's about what you pay your lawyer, except you're actually going to get a return from this. So that's my pitch.
And what's on the scorecard? I mean, maybe we talked about it earlier, but in the previous episode, I don't know. But yeah, break it. Walk us through what's the scorecard.
Yeah. So for our locations, I don't think we did touch on this. So for our location, the scorecard, we're looking at the leads that came through, how many people responded. Okay, how many calls were made? So are we calling 100% of the leads that came through that week? How many trials were set? How many trials showed? What is the close percentage of those? What's the total close percentage from leads to sales? We are looking at what our active member number is, what our attrition rate is, and what was the weekly revenue. So that is when a regional manager is meeting with their location every single week. That's the meeting, right? We're talking about those things. As Devin said, that's going to be a really good indicator of what's going on in the facility from thousands of miles away.
Yeah.
We can do that over a Zoom call, and then it's to the regional manager to coach the facility leader up on how can we, target each one of these individual metrics so that it improves over time.
We really kind of live and die by the scorecard. If 2 weeks in a row a metrics gets missed, we'll make it and really hash out an issue and come to a complete solve on it. And it's a good mix of lead and lag measures. So a lot of people make the mistake of only tracking current members, only tracking terminations, but we really want to track the output as well as the lag measure of the actual outcome.
You keep saying regional manager. So you have a bunch in Philly, and then you have one in California, and you have one in Florida.
Yes.
Right. So is the region Florida, California?
These are large regions. Yes, these are large. Again, we're engaged worldwide, so you have to break down these regions into the larger,
more of a national
areas.
Then, I guess.
There's the Pennsylvania region, and then there's the worldwide region.
That's right. Listen, it's a placeholder name that we came for. So regions just means multiple locations.
It's a symbolic title. Showing that you are leading this person, and I mentioned the profit margins. In a perfect world, if you had a few studios, 40% profit margins are really realistic. The fact that we kind of have, other people that are leading the studios, they're getting a fee, that's where the margins get chopped down a little bit. But we're building a company to scale. We're trying to get, we're sacrificing the short-term margins for a system that is actually scalable. And so the regional manager is more of just a symbolic term versus a physical region.
Are there multiple, or is there a regional manager?
Yeah, we have two.
Okay.
We have two now. So within the 7 locations, it's
so it literally is Pennsylvania World.
Pennsylvania, Delaware.
Matt behind the camera is global head of media. Global head. Yeah.
They brought their own media guy. Yeah. This is their big deal.
I have one more question about scaling. Now that you have all these locations, are you guys centralizing some of the customer support? I got to update my credit card. Does that go into one place now, or is it still the responsibility of the operations lead to handle the day-to-day emails and text messages and stuff like that?
That's in the one year plan. Yeah, it's to centralize that. But as of right now, the volume is low on the admin side for the facility leaders. Until their gym is really full, and even as the gym fills up, they're coaching less. The 1 year vision is to have, a much more centralized operation, real management company with all the seats filled. But for the most part, it's kind of spread out.
Yeah, because we got up to 5, and we did 3 in 3 months.
They all had the same opening month, those 3 that we did that one time.
So we've, and then we were done. That was it for scaling for us. So we know what goes into rapidly expanding, right? You're probably, it's a real estate play. You're looking at spaces, you're looking at build out, you're dealing with permitting. You said you have to understand the ordinances of the city and the nuances there and what an offer is going to play. And if you're someone who maybe only opened up a gym in your hometown, you can underappreciate how much work that actually is. And it doesn't leave a lot on the table in terms of being able to operate, especially if it's you're constantly looking to hire and fire and dealing with all the stuff that's necessary to deal with a rapidly expanding business. So how are you thinking about that infrastructure play? Like how many facilities to a regional manager? How are you getting all that stuff off of your plate so you can think of just banging out these facilities really fast?
First question of like, doing it initially, the decision came down to, where are we getting pulled into the existing businesses? Are we needed there every single day? Are we putting out fires? And if the answer is no, we have the time to initially do the second location, then that became a true opportunity. We did it the second time. We kind of created the checklist of everything that needs to be happened. That can replicate to the next time. And then in terms of how it scales with the regional managers, we're still trying to find what the perfect bandwidth is for a facility leader, because the regional manager right now, is a facility leader that maxes out their existing location and then can serve, how do they grow from there? They've got to the top of the org chart in their location. What's next? And it's regional manager, right? So how can they oversee multiple locations while not letting their current location sacrifice? So I think, 3 to 5 locations for a current facility leader to oversee is probably a fair number. And then above them, territory manager. Again, territory is right now the entire world. But yes, Engage Worldwide America. So that's kind of like the next layer to that. I don't know if you want to touch any more on like the structure.
Up until now, it's been a little bit of a shit show, to be honest. It's really been like a constant reminder to like, why the fuck am I in my body like doing this? When, we're really kind of building the training assets as we go. We've been doing this for 18 months. So a lot has happened really fast. We've like had to go to leadership school really quickly about building like assets that we can onboard people and train people on. But it's still a thing where we're like, who's supposed to be doing this? Why are you doing this? Mm-hmm. So really the goal is, document everything, create kind of like a real data set that we can just onboard everything. And, it's a quarterly delegate and elevate where we just audit everything that we're doing and what we can outsource, what we can automate, what we can delegate. And that's pretty much it. But right now it's, myself and Jeff are kind of, and Katie, who's our first facility leader ever, is kind of like our training director of like overall training. That's kind of that management company structure. Jeff directly oversees 5 of the locations. Katie oversees 2. So that's kind of the levels of the organization now. And, until we, get a 3 or 4 more, that's kind of the levels of it.
How are you thinking? Because you have your HQ location. It's a different model. It's larger. There's 500 members. It's like this big 7-figure machine, and those things take up a lot of energy. Is this something you think like doesn't fit with, and it's a different brand, right? Like, is this something you're thinking of selling so you can focus all in on this? Like, how are you thinking about that?
So no plans to sell in the short term. We have a really strong leadership team there. I still kind of sit in the visionary role. Jeff sits in that integrator seat there. So all the seats are kind of filled and it's operating. Really surprisingly, honestly, we've grown 20% since starting Engage. So that gym is really thriving and doing pretty well. So until it becomes an issue, we have kind of no plans to lose it because it's a huge cash cow for us.
It's fuel and expansion is kind of how you think of it. The goal is to open 100. In what time frame?
10 years.
10 years, okay. And so how are you guys thinking about it? Is this something you want to hold in cash flow? Is this something you want to sell to private equity? Is this something you want to franchise one day? Like what's you're talking big vision here. How do you get out of this thing?
Yeah, so the vision is to grow to 100 locations by 2034. All the financials are kind of mapped out with Waldron, where he's like, hey, when you've got these numbers, this is like the cash machine that is real, and we've kind of got it all very, done very in a granular fashion about here's the real potential for this thing to grow. The goal is, not to actually get to 100, but to have a system that is on track and turnkey enough that it will grow to 100. And then then that's when we entertain offers from private equity or, sell it all off. If we got to 100, that would be great if it is a turnkey system. The goal is to develop the business that can be turnkey and scale to that level.
And own all of them.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So you don't want any outside people in there. So it's going to be completely controlled by you two.
Yeah. And then it's again at 30 gyms, like that's when we'll be like, hey, enough money, we'll take this to 100 for somebody that wants it. If not, we'll just keep doing it, and that's kind of it.
One of the things I think about whenever I hear someone scale into a bunch of gyms really quickly, right? It's like it's hit or miss. No matter how good of an operator you are, you're gonna pick a shit location. You're gonna have one that's just the frog. And so, how are you structuring some of these deals to kind of mitigate financial disaster, like choosing a location that brings down the whole operation? Because we've had to lay down a gym before. It's not fun. It can be the same group of people. Like we literally took the people from a very successful gym and opened up another location, and it was just a dog.
And it was in the same state too. It wasn't
it wasn't 1,000 miles away.
Yeah.
No regional manager.
Yeah.
So how are you thinking about that, or are you just waiting for that first gut punch?
I mean, we're just taking the licks as they come, really. And again, we're kind of spoiled with the cash coming in from some of these businesses that, I really think I look at things from a pretty rational lens, like especially not being in these facilities. Like I have no emotional attachment to the people, the communities, we've had to, exchange facility leaders in the past. We've had to make really big transitions. So, I think it's, we've got to, and I don't know if we've ever really outlined it, but we probably just have to have a trigger that we're like, hey, this is the point where we just fold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it was on your guys' podcast. Someone was kind of talking about for every 5 locations, you're going to have one outlier. You're going to have 3 that are kind of operating really well, and you're going to have one that's the dog, right? And coming to not necessarily accepting that, but coming to terms with that type of understanding with as we scale, for every 5, if there's one that no matter what we do systems wise, it just can't get off the ground. It's probably something that's going to happen, and probably something that we have to face, but also have the plan in place to what do we do in that situation? As Devin said, what is the trigger to shut that thing down before, it becomes even more of a headache? But to mitigate it, we're looking at the locations and the costs associated with it to make sure that do these fit our percentages no matter what? We're not going to get married to a certain location or a certain, unit or area because we have to be there. If the rent doesn't, align with what our expected top line revenue is, then it's not a decision we're going to make. If the demographic doesn't align with the age and the median income that we want, that's not an area we're going to pursue. So we don't want to force anything. We want to stay true to the percentages and the numbers that we know has made sense and been successful so far along the way.
Yeah, and I think, from working with Waldron, who works with hundreds of gyms, he's like 1 in 4. He's like 1 in 4 is probably going to be a dud. And you just build a business that can sustain that and get it to break even. And if you invest a ton of time or exchange the operator, maybe it comes back. But we're just probably going to have a couple duds.
And are you structuring this so everything's in a separate LLC? So if you lay one down, you just crumble the company? Are you guys still PGing everything? Or are you trying to get to a size where you don't have to do that? How are you mitigating legal risk?
Yeah, everything's its own LLC.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are you doing anything to mitigate some of the financial ones? Are you PGing stuff still?
I don't know what PGing
Personal
means.
guarantee.
Oh yeah, yeah. So
yeah,
far,
are you putting it all on the line for every single lease? If you're signing a lease for $500,000, are you the ones getting the lawsuit if you default?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I like to live dangerously, John.
Yeah, that was always something.
So again, we're at a point where we have this cash flow buffer that if 1 in 5 completely tanks, and I'm like, you know what, I'm fucked. I got to personally guarantee this lease. I could float a lease on any of these locations for as long as I need to, till finding a new operator, till dealing with whatever fire needs to be put out. And again, it's just a reality of having this cash flow and having that buffer.
Must be nice.
But again, the goal is, from at least my experience, is they're not signing leases to a holding company or a management company that doesn't have really strong cash flow history. The times that I've tried to put it into an LLC was not accepted. So eventually, maybe in the next couple gyms, when we can show a much stronger business history, because again, 18 months, we go to a bank or we go to the landlord and they're like, that doesn't mean anything, So the goal would be to have the management company be the personal guarantee.
Well, then it wouldn't be personal.
Oh yeah, the guarantee.
Yeah. So you mentioned Jeff being the integrator. So whenever I hear that, I think EOS. Are you guys running that in your business? Is that the playbook there?
Yeah, we've been running on EOS for 7 years.
7 years, yeah.
Yeah, 7 years. That's been the structure. It's been the, one thing that we can point to in the last 7 years. Been like, what has been the catalyst for this growth? And it's just been the structure that we've implemented. And we got off to a rocky start with it, where we tried to do it and we didn't do it. And if anyone does EOS, they know you either do it all or you're not doing it. And we ended up hiring an implementer and working closely with the implementer. We went through a couple, but found one that was great. Worked with him for the first 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And then since then, that is how we structure the company. Visionary, I'm the integrator. We have, as Devin said, at Gauge, we have all the seats filled. Everyone's clear on what they own, what they're responsible for, who they can delegate to. And at the end of the day, how does that trickle up and down the accountability chart, when we're talking about people taking ownership of their individual roles within all 7 locations.
For someone who doesn't I don't really know what EOS is. I read Traction and I still don't know what it is. I just know you pay somebody 20 grand to come into your business, and then he goes, oh, you're a visionary. You need someone who's an operator, and that's what they do. Is there more to it than that, or that's the push you need to hire an integrator, that's someone who's detail oriented?
So there's a lot of pros and cons to using EOS. I think gyms operate really well with this model, whether you operate specifically EOS or it's scaling up or any of these other operating systems. They're all doing the same thing. It's a weekly meeting pulse. It's a quarterly, rock or goal setting agenda. It is a way to analyze your people. So a really simple way to identify people, process, data issues. And it's just a playbook. So a lot of people overcomplicate things, and we have to keep coming back to a really simple set of tools. If we're having a people issue, we come up with all these out of the box solutions or workarounds when really are wait, can we run them through the people analyzer, which is a core value evaluation tool? Can we run them through the accountability chart? Can we run them through what's called GWC? And it's that's the answer. And it just boils everything down to a really, really simple set of tools. Now, the con is that EOS was written for scale, so it's purposely vague. It's not only purposely vague from a model standpoint, because it needs to fit into gym models like every entrepreneurial type of business. It's also purposely vague because they're selling implementation. So they make it hard enough that everybody reads Traction and they're like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. And they do it. It totally flops. They still believe in it, so then they pay the money to bring an implementer on. So
was 20 grand was I right? Is that what it costs? How does that work?
It's gone up over the course of time.
So I will say we never would have started because at the time the gym did about $20,000 a month. We kind of hit this plateau of 20 to 30. We never would have been able to afford an implementer if it didn't come down to this really stupid deal that we got on. So I reached out to an implementer, and he was charging $5,000 a day. And I was like, yeah, sorry, man, can't do it. He was like, all right, I have a seminar coming up. It's $700. It's a self-implementation seminar. And he was like, come to that. I was the only one that signed up. He's like, you know what? Just show up, bring your team. We'll do a real day. Charge me $700. He was like, you can't do this with me, but I'll give you to some of the newer implementers. So we kept a $700 a day fee for a while. It's slowly ramped up. Now we pay the full price whenever we do a catch-up thing, but it is not cheap. But I mean, we went from $20,000 to $120,000 a month. It's worth it.
And you said, so that was a 6X in 5 years, 6 years?
It's 6X. I mean,
in probably 4.5 years, because we've been at that for over a year now.
Yeah.
So 4.5 years that took. I mean, when we started, we talked about scorecard earlier, and it's all right, let's fill out your scorecard. How many members do you have? Devin and I looked at each other 250, 200, 190. I have no idea. We had no numbers. We were just literally just running the gym and not knowing what was happening until we got the P&L every month.
Then you open Mind Body and you're like, I still don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea.
This is tough.
Yeah.
What do you wish someone told you as you were going from one location to two that had you known would have helped? And then going from 2 to 3, and then I guess what's the real kind of is there a difference between 3 and 4 at that point, or 5 and 7? Yeah, what were some of the lessons learned?
So I'll preface this with, I've been working with Vince Gabriel for 10 years. So he's a business coach. He organized a private event with Seth Godin. probably 5 years ago, and it was a really cool experience. I did not like the guy at all at the time, and I've grown to appreciate more of his
Vince
kind of
or Seth?
Seth. But never forget, because I had no dreams or desires to open multiple locations because I was trying to scale complexity. And Vince asked, like, what would you tell somebody if they were looking to open multiple locations? And Seth was like, I would tell them not to open 2 gyms. And everyone was like, well, fuck you, Seth. Like, thanks, bud. But really, he was like, I would tell them to open 10 gyms. Because when you open 2 gyms, now you are running 2 gyms. And there's only a limited amount of capacity you can have for running 2 gyms. But when you run 10 gyms, you are now in the business of running gyms. And that's really like the biggest thing that I wish somebody told me or reminded me of from day one. Because I think you and I both did this where we were just trying to do everything ourselves versus creating a business that can launch gyms. And it's not running 2 gyms. It is building a process to open and scale gyms.
Boom. That was it. That's what I was looking for.
That was it.
And I talk to people that have 3-4 gyms, and they're like the owner of the gyms, and they're like worrying about staffing each location, and they're like have their facility leaders that they're like tracking PTO days. I'm like, dude, if you want this thing to scale, like you can't be nickel and diming your directors on 15 PTO days a month or a year. Like they've got to feel like they're truly having full ownership over the success of this place. Treat them like a grown up and let them, run this like their own thing. And that's kind of the system that we've, built is like, you are the facility leader. You can create your own schedule. You're in charge of like, if you don't ever want to work Fridays, get the gym to the point that it makes enough money. You can hire somebody that you can make whatever schedule you want. We're not going to micromanage you. We're going to create a system that is scalable, and we're going to basically coach you as a mastermind would or a consultant would to be successful, and we own it. So we get a cut of that.
Yep. So guys, we don't want to take up too much of your time, and we'll be following along the journey on this.
We'll probably be signing up also.
The road to 100 locations, the Gym World. This is the Gym World reality TV show, so we're looking forward to having you on again. Where do people go if they want to get some more knowledge from you two?
EngagePersonalTraining.com to learn more about the brand and see what do we do in our locations. And then for myself, it's just Jeff Schumacher underscore on Instagram. That's like the only platform that I'm really using.
Yeah, I actually just released a podcast yesterday. So I'm working with a production company that we're releasing a podcast called Little Gym, Big Heart. And it's targeted at trainers that want to actually make a living in the industry, how to build a business, whether they're doing it themselves or open the gym. So Little Gym _ Big Heart. It's kind of our motto with our companies. And hit me up there, follow the podcast, like, subscribe.
Is that going to be, so that's something, if gym owners listen to this, you want your staff listening to that? That's the core audience for that?
Yeah, so the audience is not so much gym. I mean, the gym owners are going to get a hell of a lot of value from it, especially if they're very hands-on.
This is a podcast for gym owners over here. So you don't have to be. This is for you, gym owners. This is your show. You don't go to his.
So my target market is aspiring gym owners, or people that are dreaming about opening their own gym. They don't have the money. They don't know what to do. They don't have the risk tolerance. So I can either give them the tools to do it themselves, or if they want to work with our company, we're recruiting people that want to own gyms without the massive amount of risk and obstacles that they're going to face and the money that they're definitely going to lose that we can help them avoid. So
that's what I was like. This is a hiring play. That's what I thought. I was like, I was going to say he needs a lot. He needs 100 managers. You need some inbound for that.
Yeah, but I'll say one more thing about that. And I hate most fitness business podcasts. I like your guys, but I feel like they always withhold a little bit of information because they're selling a mastermind, they're selling coaching or products. This is all just like, I'm just giving it all away. I'm not selling anything other than the fact that if you want to open a gym with us, we would love to talk to you. So it's not like a paywall. It's, we literally are just not selling anything.
We are selling something. We're selling Kilo, gym management software. So if you want to start your own gym, use the referral code in Little Gym Big Heart. Use Kilo. So, gentlemen, thank you so much. This is awesome. We're looking forward to catching up with you guys, when you're back in town.
All right.
Cool.
Thanks a lot.
Nice.
I've never done a standing podcast before.
No. I need to train for it.